James here from the Sprinkled Donut Forge. This is the progress on the Sort It project with the CV axle. I took a Sharpie and marked some areas that I need to thin down with the edge of the angle grinder for the rough grind, just to get it to some semblance of an edge. You can kind of see those spots in the blade, but all together it's fairly straight. There's a little bit of a wave down there, but that can be corrected. I'll do that slightly before the heat treat. This is just a rough grind, but you can see it's a full-length saber. It doesn't have a lot of wobble and just an appreciable amount of flex, which you want in a good sword. And if you've seen any of the slow motion cutting videos out there on the great YouTube, you'll see that swords flex as they cut. And if they did not flex, that would be a huge problem, because you would end up with two daggers instead of a sword. Or just a broken sword, rather. So what I'm going to do is grind these areas, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like after I've worked it over real well with the flap disc. And we'll proceed with improvising some sort of a guard, and I'd like something that protects the front of the hand, because I plan on keeping this thing. There's a few marks in it that are going to have to stay in it, like right here, right here, and here, because removing that much material would weaken the structural integrity of the blade, and I'd kind of like it to stay in one piece. I don't want to lose that much length off of it, because I'm already involved in a cutlass project from a coil spring, and this needs to remain a saber. So we have sorted it, and now we're going to make it a worthy sword. I will keep you updated on the progress. And for reference, when you're grinding, wear your personal protective equipment such as safety glasses. And I cannot stress the importance of a dust mask enough. You don't want to breathe metal particles. It's just not a good thing. So I'm going to get with this, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I have ran a wore-out 60 grit flap wheel over this thing, and it's beginning to develop a little bit of a shine. Also, it's getting fairly sharp. Of course, the edge gets overfolded, but a little honing is going to help that. I want to do as much work to this thing as I can before I heat treat it. That way, if there's any warpages or distortions, it'll happen now, and I can correct that before the heat treat. But that's not bad for a wore-out 60 grit flap wheel, especially considering that this thing was made out of a very, very bumpy car part. So we're getting where we want to be with this thing. I'm not worried about the handle portion, because that's getting buried in something. So I'm going to get at it with a wore-out 120 grit flap wheel, and then proceed to touch it up a little more, and I'll show you the progress. But you see what the wore-out 60 did. Can you see it? Oh yeah. Okay, pause for the cause, and I'll be back with a little more finishing. Alright, I meant what I said about that 120 grit flat wheel being wore out. But it's beginning to develop a little bit of a shine. It's going to be lumpy. After all, this is a junkyard sword from a CV axle, made out of some pretty impressive junkyard steel. And I corrected the slight warp in the blade, so it's really straight and balanced. Well, that's my update on the Sort It project. and I will be putting a finer finish to this, and I will be making a video in the course of things to outline the making of a guard and handle. So thank you for watching, thank you for following this little project, and we'll see you next time.